immigrant visa, which means it's designed for people who want to move to the US permanently and get a green card. My name is Roel, and on this channel, we share immigration plans for Canadians to move to the USA or any other country for studying, working, or settlement. In this video, I'm going to talk about the current immigration trends of Canadian citizens and permanent residents moving to the US, which is a hot topic in Canada. Before moving any further, make sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel. So, let's start with the H-2B visa. This one is for people who want to come to the US to work temporarily in jobs that aren't agricultural. Think about jobs like working in landscaping, construction, hospitality, like hotels or resorts, or even warehouse work. These are the kinds of jobs where employers in the US sometimes can't find enough local workers during their busiest times of the year. For example, let's say there's a big landscaping company in Florida that gets crazy busy during the spring and summer months. They might apply to bring in workers from outside the US on H-2B visas to help them get through that busy season. Now, here's the thing about the H-2B visa. It's temporary. That means you're only allowed to stay in the US for as long as the job lasts, which is usually up to 1 year. If the employer still needs you after that, they can apply for an extension, but even with extensions, you can only stay for a maximum of 3 years total on this visa. After that, you have to leave the US for at least 3 months before you can apply again. Here's the catch: the H-2B visa doesn't lead to a green card or permanent residency. It's strictly temporary, so if your goal is to eventually settle down in the US, this isn't the right visa for you. The process for getting an H-2B visa is mostly handled by your employer. They have to prove a few things first. First, they need to show that there aren't enough US workers available who are willing or able to do the job. Second, they also have to prove that hiring foreign workers won't hurt wages or working conditions for US workers. Once they've done all that and gotten approval from the US government, then you can apply for your visa at a US consulate in your home country. Now let's talk about the EB-3 visa, because this one is a completely different ballgame. The EB-3 is an immigrant visa, which means it's designed for people who want to move to the US permanently and get a green card. Here's how it works. The EB-3 visa is for people who have a permanent job offer from a US employer. There are 3 categories under this visa. The first category is for skilled workers. These are jobs that require at least 2 years of training or experience. The second category is for professionals. These are jobs that require at least a bachelor's degree or its equivalent. The third category is for unskilled workers. These are jobs that don't require much training or experience, less than 2 years, but they have to be permanent positions. So let's say you're someone with experience as a caregiver or in factory work. That might fall under the unskilled worker category of EB-3. Or maybe you're an engineer with a degree. That would put you in either the skilled worker or professional category, depending on your job offer. The key difference between EB-3 and H-2B is that EB-3 jobs are permanent, not seasonal or temporary like H-2B jobs. Now, getting an EB-3 visa isn't something you can just do on your own. It starts with your employer. Here's how it works. First, your employer has to go through something called the Perm Labor Certification process with the Department of Labor. This is basically their way of proving that there aren't any qualified US workers available for the job. Once they get approval from DL, they file something called Form I-140 with USCIS on your behalf. Finally, after this, it's just a matter of waiting until your priority date becomes current based on your country of birth and category: skilled worker, professional, or unskilled worker. Once it does, you can apply for your green card either through adjustment of status if you're already in the US, or consular processing if you're outside the US. The timeline for all this depends on where you're from, because some countries have longer backlogs than others due to high demand, like India or China. But if you're Canadian or from most other countries without backlogs, it usually takes around 1 to 2 years if everything goes smoothly. So here's how I'd sum it up. The H-2B visa is great if you just want short-term work experience in the US, but it doesn't lead anywhere permanent. It's more like dipping your toe into working in America without making a big commitment. The EB-3 visa, on the other hand, is like going all in. It's perfect if you're ready to move permanently and build a life in America with stable work and even bring your family along. Your spouse and kids under 21 can come too. If I were in your shoes and trying to figure out which one makes sense for me, I'd ask myself, do I just want temporary work experience? Am I ready to make a long-term commitment? If it's temporary work, go with H-2B. If it's long-term goals like getting a green card and settling down in America, then EB3 is definitely worth pursuing. I hope you got a pretty good idea of options that you have to move to the USA and settle with these immigration routes.